welcome. Today is Monday. It is December 5th, 2022. My name is Jeremy, and this is my first call. Oh, how are you? What is going on, everybody? I hope you had a wonderful weekend. If you can't tell, I am tired. My voice is mostly gone. This is, believe it or not, much better than it was yesterday. But I missed you all, so I wanted to have an episode. And I'm here. The next thing to get out of the way. This is going to be a short show, and then I have to go back to bed because I didn't get in bed until after 3. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about what I'm doing, why I'm exhausted, why I'm getting to bed at 1:45, 2 something, and then 3, with no sign of that changing until next week. So, or at least end of this week. But since I appreciate all of you, and I made a commitment to showing up here for the show, I didn't want to make any changes without telling you about those changes on the show. And it says it's just another manic Monday. It sure is. I want to say good morning to Dennis and Mark, Frank, Jenny, Stacy, Brian, and all the rest of you, whether you're watching now or later, or thanks to somebody else who stepped up. I really appreciate you. You know who you are on listening. We have that going again. So, and for those of you who want to subscribe, listen to this show, have an option at least for an audio version of this show, you should be able to find it in your podcast player. And if you're missing episodes, they should be updated. But you can certainly add that if you would like. Brian says, "Holy frost, Batman." We certainly don't have any frost going on down here in Florida, that's for sure. It is perpetually on fire. The overnight lows are 70. The highs are only 80, so it's a really tight window, which is really interesting. Good morning to you, Tommy. I'm going to be losing my train of thought pretty much the whole time, so just strap in, get ready for that. I'm down here for a Tony Robbins event. I believe I mentioned that last week. I believe you're all up to speed on that. Maybe not, but if you're not, no, you are. And I'm down here for a ton of reasons, and I'm not going to go into them. But what I will tell you is 2 things that I find really interesting. Number one, when I look at some of the work that I've been doing with seminars, with the way we hold events, the way we communicate, there are a lot of things that I am proud of because we've already been crushing them in ways that, just to be direct, the Tony Robbins organization with all the resources cannot do, or I should say does not do. That's number one. Number 2, so many things about the way I've just kind of found my own path without really knowing what was right or not is stuff that Tony does. I have said for a while, kind of in the back of my head, that one of my goals is to be, because it gave me the best yardstick I could imagine at the time. If we had done the show yesterday, you wouldn't have been able to hear me. Everybody would have been typing in the chat, "I can't hear you, Jeremy." But it's a lot of screaming. The best metric I would have used for myself, or yardstick I would have said, is my goal is to be the Tony Robbins of martial arts. And I think I'm further along that path than I realized. There are things Tony does on stage that I thought were kind of unique to me. They're not. There were things that I thought I wasn't doing a great job of that I'm seeing Tony, who I already considered to be the best in the world at a number of things that he is doing. And that makes me feel pretty good. But then number 3, the part that I hope you are most excited about, the things I am learning to bring back, the ways that we are going to make free training days, an all-in weekend, and everything else just better. As I'm sitting there doing notes, which I mean, I'm taking tons of notes. This is not a seminar for here's how to make your business better. It's a personal event, and yet the number of things I'm seeing about business and Whistlekick are just insane. There's something else. Those of you who came to All In Weekend, and that's quite a few of you, and just a reminder, if you don't have All In Weekend on your radar, I challenge you to find a better value in training. There is nothing. What I'm receiving down here is amazing. It is without a doubt not a better value. So I'm not going to say I challenge you to find a better value in martial arts training. I challenge you to find a better value in training. Your room, your food, your training, 48 hours all in for that one price. So if you want to sign up, and I hope you do, there are slots left. Not as many as there were just a couple weeks ago, but there are slots left. Whistlekick.com. There was some grumbling at April's event about how much we packed in to those 2 days. There were some people who certainly were like, whoa, that's a lot. The shortest day that I have had at this event is 14 plus hours. Yesterday we arrived at 10:30. We got out of there after 2. So how was that? 16, yeah. It was almost a 16-hour day. The last time I saw him on my phone before I put it up to plug in and go to bed, 3:09. But you do what you gotta do, right? One of the things I also find really interesting is by pulling back on caffeine, I've been able to power through this. Now, here's a question, and there are a number of you in the chat. Here's a question. Especially if you listened to or watched Thursday's episode on hydration and nutrition. How many of you can tell me how I am approaching these days where I have to be on, where I have to be really aware, where we are not getting more than yesterday in all that time, we had a single organized break of 40 minutes. How am I approaching that from food and hydration standpoint? I gave you the answer in Thursday's episode. If you paid attention, you know. And so I'm curious who paid attention. Stacy says, oof, I'd be a broken solace. Yeah, I am not broken. And the first thing Tony would tell you is and actually Frank's quotes today are about Tony, or are from Tony Robbins, which is kind of fun. He would strongly discourage you from using that language instead of saying you're broken, because your body hears, your mind hears. It's real. Self-programming, which is actually a huge part of what we're doing. And part of the reason we're going so late is because they're making sure we are exhausted, because then we don't have the mental energy to fight the new stuff that we're working on. The stuff that, they're not indoctrinating us. We're determining all this stuff. But it's not stuff that's going to work when you're rested and balanced. Okay. So I'm going to wait for some of that to come in. And I'm going to check again, looking to see what's going on with the podcast. It looks like it's going to be late today, which bums me out, and I'm sorry, but that's the reality. There is an episode. Yeah, I'm looking at all the materials. So we have another interview episode, and you know what? We'll talk about it tomorrow. And this is a good time to let you know I am going to commit to episodes through the week. I'm not going to commit to other 6:30 a.m. episodes. I can't do it. Jenny says, "Shoot, I wasn't listening to that episode for a pop quiz. LOL." And she says, "Well, protein, fats. That's carbs absorb water." Okay, so you listened to the episode. You clearly took things from the episode, and you are in the front because you're the first one to answer anything. But that's not specific enough. Okay. I'll give everybody a couple minutes to think about it and post it in the chat. One of the things that I'm finding really interesting as well, Florida and I have never had a good relationship. Just never. The only car I've ever totaled has been in Florida. Just some of the most challenging things that have ever happened for me have happened in Florida. I'm not a fan of the heat. The idea of being outside with gators running around doesn't do anything for me. By the way, every time I'm near any body of water bigger than a puddle, I'm looking to make sure is there a nostril, eyeballs coming up out of that one. Not yet. I haven't seen anybody get mauled by a gator. But this time isn't like I got a really nice time. Tommy says, "Careful, they jump." Yeah, I'm not just going to be, "Oh, what's going on in this puddle? I'm going to go over here. What's happening over here?" No, I'm not doing that. This is the biggest challenge when I am exhausted. My train of thought is gone. So the ability to follow. All right, so I'll tell you. Nobody else. So I want to shout out Jenny for even saying something. Nobody else said anything. So proud of you, Jenny, for even stepping into the ring, even if you didn't come prepared. That's okay. I didn't tell you on Thursday there would be a quiz. All right, so here's what's going on. I have been up every morning and had breakfast. Did this 3 days in a row. I did not eat during the day. Now, yesterday was Sunday. So Friday and Saturday at like midnight, they come around and they bring us food. Friday was some vegetarian chili. It was really good, but it was all beans, and my digestive system wasn't thrilled. Jenny says, "It's what I do and how I got my ribs cracked," if you recall. That's awesome. Mark says, "You don't have to run faster than the gator, just faster than the person next to you." That is true. Hopefully that person doesn't grab you as they fall or as they fall behind. Frank says, "If you're not showing up at 6:30, one of the episodes be?" I can't promise. It's going to be when I can do them sensibly, likely in the 7:38 range. Bottom line, I had about 6 hours that I could sleep today, and I chopped out the middle to do the show because I promised you guys I would, and I'm gonna do what I say I'm gonna do. I'm so not prepared. So the first thing is I fasted through the day. This was not well, there is some physical intensity going on during the day. There's a lot of jumping, moving around, and I'm probably burning 2,500 to 3,000 calories through the day just because I'm awake a long time. I'm awake a long time, and I am moving. There's a considerable amount of movement and jumping around. They keep us jumping. Oh, here, let's check on here. So, right. It looks like the episode will be ready within an hour. So that's cool. Thank you, Julius. Time zone math, which I cannot fault anyone for because I have fallen victim to it many, many times. And there's actually one episode where graciously the guest, at my messing it up twice, said, "It's okay. We will reschedule again. We will get it." Yeah, so I'll do episodes when I can. Fasting through the day and a huge amount of fat in the morning. I'm eating 1,000-calorie breakfasts that are butter, peanut butter, cheese, eggs, half and half because there's no full fat creamer, and just stuffing as much fat into my body as I can and not running on caffeine. The reason I'm not running on caffeine, or thankful I'm not running on caffeine at this point, is we don't get breaks. We don't get bathroom breaks. There are 1,000 people in this room, and there are bathrooms for 20 men and 20 women. So they can't say, everybody go to the bathroom, because there will be a huge line. It'll be insane. Jenny says, fats burn slower. They do. They absolutely do. Tremendously slower. And the other piece that I added in that is pretty relevant, I talked about this in the show, actually, I'm not 100% sure I did, because I'm not 100% sure of anything right now. This could all be a dream. On podcast recording days, I will have a couple hundred calories of fat with my breakfast, fat in my coffee. This has one creamer in it, 1.5 and 1/2. And then I don't eat until I'm done, which could be 4:30. Because I have found a huge difference in how my brain operates when I have had food and when I'm fasting. Tommy says, my insulin pump would be screaming at me. And Jenny says, so how do you handle hydration? I talked about this in the episode too. It takes time for your body to process water, right? This idea that you need a water break in the middle of an hour-long class, we do not. We absolutely do not. I am drinking a bunch of water when I first get up and when I go, just before I go to bed. So I didn't want to, but I did have enough water at the end yesterday that I had to get up to pee, which is a bummer, interrupting my sleep, but not much. Before we get started 10:45 today. By 10 o'clock, I will probably had, those are like 68 ounce glasses, 8, 32, 40. I will probably have had between 40 and 50 ounces of liquid. Now, if I have another 2 or 3 after the event, when I get back, and I sip water through the day, bam, there's 100 ounces. Drink half your body weight in ounces per day. I'm over that, right? Without getting overly descriptive, I'm monitoring my hydration level during the day. It's not that I'm never using the bathroom. I'm trying to do it as little as possible because it's taking away time. I mean, there are some things that go on where it's more appropriate than others, where I'm missing less than others. But there are plenty of people, and you see them, they're just like, I gotta go, and they go out, and they're rushing back and forth. Kenny says, see, that's why I was hesitant to suggest that. I hate getting up to pee. It's about priorities, right? I would rather stumble to the bathroom, interrupt my sleep, knowing I'm going to have no problem getting back to bed. Tommy says, Jenny tried being a 60-year-old man. Tommy, I'm not going to address that head on because I haven't lived it myself, but everything I understand about that subject suggests that either there's a problem to be addressed or there are things that one can do. And Jenny says, maybe in my next life. You might be a 60-year-old man in your next life. That would be really interesting. And I think the last thing that I will say about this, we're going longer than I expected. I think the last thing I will say about this before we do the quotes, this is a man who shows up, uh, Tony Robbins is a man who shows up 100% with everything he does. Some of the things I've witnessed, and I won't be sharing them, although there's a documentary on Netflix that most of the people there had seen and they were talking about. There's some material that they likely will use for something, and if they use it for a follow-up documentary, I would put money down that you will see me, because this intervention with this woman was 10 feet from me, and you'll see me ugly crying and just. I've never cried more in my life. I've had long-term significant romantic relationships, and I didn't cry this much. So uh, there we are. So to summarize, I front load food primarily in the form of fat with as little carbohydrate as possible. Carbohydrates are only a vehicle to get more fat in, like the French toast sticks. Those are really all butter. They're French toast sticks today. I stay in touch with what's going on in my body through the day and make sure that I'm at least sipping water. I did have a cup of green tea yesterday to have something warm to try to help my throat, and it actually helped quite a bit. But of course, then I had to pee because it was green tea. And then on the backside, I catch up with what I can. Just as we can catch up with sleep, we can catch up with water, we can catch up with food, we can catch up where we need to. Okay. I am not. I'm probably a good 500 to 1,000 calories deficit each day. So um, I'm feeling light. Not that I'm trying to lose weight. Not that I want to lose weight. I might lose a little bit of body fat around the middle. But yeah, there we go. Tommy says, yesterday I actually addressed it. The dogs get me up more than the bathroom issue, just trying to make the room chuckle. All right. Well said then, Tommy. But I answer it that way because what if somebody doesn't have the full experience? What if they're not quite sure what's going on, right? Like, I'm all about sharing as much information with you all as I can. All right, so time to throw these Tony Robbins quotes at you. Thank you to Frank for all the work you do on the show. And shout out to Josh for our theme song. All right, here we go. That's number 3. Where's number 1? No matter how many mistakes you make or how slow you progress, you are still way ahead of everyone who isn't trying. How many times have we talked about that on Martial Arts Radio? The idea that slow, iterative progress not only is one of the hallmarks of martial arts, it's a wonderful conditioning tool, visual tool for how life operates. But I think it is the best way to instill habit. It is the best way to instill habit. And guess what? There is nothing that's gone on here the past few days that changes my mind on it. There are things that you can change quickly, but creating habits, making something part of you requires doing it over and over and over again. And you have to have faith that you will get better. So if you show up, whether it's in your training, whether it's in your relationships, whether it's at work, whatever it is, if you show up and you're trying, you're probably 99% of the way there on making progress. What's that last 1%? You have to care. You have to show up and you have to care. You can't just come to class. You have to care about being in class, which is why kids who are stuck in class as babysitting don't progress. It's why adults who show up because their spouse wants them to don't progress. They're going through the motions. You have to care, at least a little bit. Number 2, if you talk about it, it's a dream. If you envision it, it's possible. But if you schedule it, it's real. You got to make a commitment to it. And the number one thing, you all know it by this time. I have clients. I work with clients in and out of the martial arts space. And sometimes we'll work on goal setting. Sometimes we dig through enough of the muck, the old stuff, the stuff that is holding them back, that it's time to really push and look forward. And honestly, not all my clients get to that place because there's so much going on. And it gets exhausting. And they have progress just by shedding things. But if they get to a point where they really want to have some good stuff, and honestly, this happens more with the martial arts clients because there are some easy numbers, and numbers are great for goals. What are your goals? Oh, well, I'd like to have more students. Well, how many more? And a lot of people freeze up there. The moment you make that goal tangible, the moment you say exactly what it's going to be, what definable success looks like, and when you will have achieved that success by, a lot of people get scared because they're afraid of failure. They're afraid of not meeting their goal. They're afraid of perhaps that goal not being as important to them as they tell themselves it is, as they tell other people it is. Why do you think, for those of you who follow me personally on social media, why do you think I told everyone about the hike that I went on last weekend? The day before I went on it. Why do you think I laid it all out on the table? Because it meant I had to do it. It meant I had to show up. I had to commit to it. It meant that there was no way in hell I wasn't going to finish that hike. Because I wasn't going to disappoint all of you. I would much rather disappoint myself than all of you. I will show up for everyone, right? I'm not in bed right now because I'm not going to disappoint you because I told you I would be here. That's a huge part of me, right? Everybody's wired differently, but goals need tangible parameters. Both Tommy and Jenny are saying it. Accountability, yes. I am infinitely accountable to all of you. Now our last one, this one's a little bit longer, bear with me. Where focus goes, energy flows. There's actually someone who is wearing that on a shirt. And where energy flows, whatever you're focusing on grows. In other words, your life is controlled by what you focus on. That's why you need to focus on where you want to go, not on what you fear. When you next find yourself in a state of uncertainty, resist your fear. Shift your focus toward where you want to go, and your actions will take you in that direction. The best kind of sarcastic example of this I can think of is, I'm afraid of having too much money. There are actually a lot of people who are afraid of having financial success. Almost every lottery winner. So you can make a joke about it. Oh, don't bring me too much money. But it's true. So many people spend so much time dwelling on what they're afraid of, what they don't want, what worries them. And all they're doing is investing their energy in creating that, manifesting that, bringing that about, whatever verb you want to use. Right? Some of this stuff gets a little woo-woo. Not everybody lines up on the woo-woo side. That's totally fine. But I think regardless of your acceptance of woo-woo-ness, if there's something that you are thinking about all the time, you're more likely to see it. If you're thinking about, this is an example from a book I'm fond of. If you're thinking about a new car, if you're thinking about, maybe I should get maybe I should get a Jeep Wrangler. I had no idea how many Jeep Wranglers were on the road around me until I bought one. I see them everywhere now. I used to only see RAV4s because that's my other car. That was the car I was driving the most. My old car. But once I got the Jeep, I saw Jeeps everywhere, and I didn't see RAV4s as much. The number of cars did not change. My perspective changed. What I was looking for changed. So if you can change what you're looking for, and it has a result, it alters the result of what you see. if I can look and it changes what I see, if I change what I'm looking for, I change what I see, is that not the same as changing your reality? It doesn't mean that because I'm focused on bringing money in, I'm going to find a pile of money, but it may mean that I find an opportunity I might have otherwise missed. Or maybe I'm focused on it enough and somebody says, that person's really serious. I'm going to invest in their company. We could come up with examples for literally anything. Money, fame, romantic partner, new job, right? One of the best things that has been advised forever. If you're looking for a new job, tell people what you're looking for. Get out there. Bring about some accountability. Set a goal. Invest everything you have in it. Most of the movies that we all enjoy have some element at some point where the main character, the hero of the story, invests everything they have in some outcome, no matter how ridiculous it is. And we love when they succeed because we feel it, we embody that, we recognize the passion that went into creating that outcome. Tommy says you have to do the Wrangler wave. For those of you who don't know, you have to wave it at other Jeeps, other Jeep Wranglers with two fingers. You just do. It's just a thing you have to do. I don't know if I told you guys, Tommy might be the only one who gets this, but I got ducked last weekend, yeah, about a week and a half ago. And it was so much fun. And now that I've experienced it and I know how much fun it was, I have to go out and buy like a whole bunch of rubber ducks. And if you want to know the story behind that, you can go look it up. Jeep ducking. Probably the only time your phone ever actually meant that word, isn't it? All right. That's so much fun. All right. I'm checking what's going on in the show. Are we here? All right. It's here. All right. So real quick, episode 768 with Scott Robertson. Really fun episode. I enjoyed talking to this man. And I'm reminding myself of a couple things. This is a story a lot of you will relate to about having to find a new school more than once, loving what you do, loving training, it being a huge part of who you are. And this is something I don't think I say in the show or the intro or outro, but as I've reflected on this episode, maybe missing a bit of who we are when we're not training, whether that's for a day or a week or longer. I hope you go check it out. Episode 768, Scott Robertson. It's on YouTube, so it should be everywhere by now. You might have to podcast feeds can take a couple hours to refresh, so it might take some time. It'll be there. Thank you all for coming by. I really do appreciate you. I will see you at some point tomorrow. I will aim for earlier, but you know what? I'm going to be honest. I am going to compromise a little bit. I'm going to rearrange my priorities a little bit. You all are still very high on the list, but temporarily, I'm going to put this event higher because I know it will help me show up better for all of you in all the ways that I do in the future. And I hope you're all on board with that investment and that reprioritization. Temporarily, you will get a show. Remember, if you want to follow us for the show, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. We're also on Twitter. We're on Pinterest. We're on Instagram. You can follow us at Whistlekick everywhere. We do the show every weekday in the morning, almost always at 6:30 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time, but you can certainly catch it later. And if you want to support us, here are the big three things you can do. You can keep showing up for the show. You being here means a lot to me and other people watching the show. 2, you can buy something at whistlekick.com. We should have more sparring gear in a couple weeks. More black and red. I'm getting a lot of inquiries about that. And you can also check out the Patreon. It starts at $2 a month. $2. If you like this show, if you like the things we produce, if you have $2 a month, you can't even get a cup of coffee most places for $2. I will give you more than $2 worth. I will give you much more than a cup of coffee's worth. I promise you. But if you want the whole list, everything you can do to support us to be family, whistlekick.com/family. You got to type it in. And that brings me to the end. I'm going to go crawl in bed for a couple more hours. 90 minutes. Wow. That's not a lot of sleep. All right, everybody. I will see you tomorrow. Take care. Thank you.